So my name is Ben. I'm art director and one of the co-founders for Booster Pack, which is a game company based in Singapore. We're about 10 people. We've been there for a year and a half. Experience ranges from 1 year to 15 years plus. Most of us are pretty experienced developers coming from bigger companies. Many of us come from LucasArts, and when LucasArts closed down, we felt like, oh, we should keep working together because it works well. So we started Booster Pack. Our current project is based on the Avatar IP, so James Cameron Avatar IP thing. And I'm going to talk about the tools, the pipeline, and optimizations, not so much about the art itself, but this talk is mostly an overview of what we're doing, the tools we're using. It's just here to support your own investigations on your own games. Hopefully it will be helpful. The game itself is based on Avatar. It's very stylized. It's a 2D endless runner. And we have a lot of environments, lots of mounts, gear, enemies. We have also a card collection kind of system where you get your gears out of buying booster packs or getting rewards in the form of booster packs, and then you get your cards. There is a lot of UI involved, but I'm going to talk mostly about the in-game stuff here. So we are Booster Pack, and that's our website. We're not yet updated, but yeah. So the game itself is still a work in progress. So we launched we're in beta. We launched in Singapore. We are planning to do a global launch pretty soon, but well, it's still work in progress. So I'm going to go over environments pipeline, animation pipeline, UI pipeline, lighting solution. We have a lighting solution for our 2D game, fog solution, which is a bit special thing for us. Some UI tricks and maybe a bonus in the end if I still have some time. So the environments pipeline, we're using two tools that come from the asset store. We're using Unity, by the way. Sorry, it's all Unity based. We're doing a 2D looking game, but we're using 3D assets. We're a hybrid kind of thing in terms of authoring. For fast authoring, we wanted something that could be a way to streamline the process from concept to in-game assets. So basically, we have Gary Chu, who is our senior concept artist, who's going to make the concepts. We're going to cut them out, put them in the game, take a look at how it looks, see how it looks almost immediately, and then iterate on the proper assets. We just select what we want, we iterate on that. So 2D Toolkit is there for that. And Fur 2D Terrain is the tool we use to actually create the terrains themselves. So here you're going to see that's a Fur 2D Terrain. It's a path-based kind of tool. You just input the textures that you want for the edges, the texture you want for the inside, for the filling. And we decorate these terrains with 2D assets from 2D Toolkit, which are sprites, basically. So here you'll see a quick change on the terrain. So it's very, very straightforward. All the outer parts, all the borders are transparent. All the inner parts are opaque, so it saves some fill rate as well, which is really good. The lighting that we have, I'm going to go a bit more about the lighting later, is also based on sprites. So here I'm moving the sprite around, it's lighting my assets, and here are some decorative elements. It's a sprite, so you have a sprite collection, you can change the look of the assets, whatever, but this is very, very fast to build. Animation pipeline is also, we were also looking for fast authoring, very easy to jump into, so spine would be the thing, and a few requirements for animation, which are bones, sprite-based animation, like image-based, flipbook-like, freeform deformation, skinning, and all the stuff. And also we use Unity 2D native tools when we need something really, really fast. Because Spine is not super fast. We use Spine for characters animation, mounts animation, gear animation, whatever is like really important. Why is it not storing? Okay, so that's just an overview of the standalone Spine application. Sorry, and it's really straightforward. Like any animator, 2D, 3D animator, you can just jump into that and start working like straight away. So it has a runtime for Unity. And as you see, it's very simple. I mean, it's not frightening, right? You use Maya, and you don't know Maya, and you're going to be like, what the hell is this thing? This is very simple. Then Unity 2D tools are used for enemies and whatever we we use like sprite animation for. Sprite animation is like the most basic animation you can do in Unity. So the solution is super integrated. It's pretty fast. It's actually it's faster than the 2D toolkit animation tool. Yeah. And then we have a UI pipeline which also uses 2D toolkit and a way to do modular animation for it. So Hot Twin is the modular animation system we're using. It's free. It's very fast. Support is amazing. We can pretty much twin anything. And the good thing with twinning is that you create modular animations that you can reuse anywhere. So if you want to have, like, that's a twin that I set up here from here to there, then I'm going to give it some bounce. Again, this is something you will have many different ease types that you can choose from, duration, delay, whatever you need to actually sequence your animation. But then once you're set up with this, you can reuse, let's say, your bouncy window animation anywhere on all of your bouncy windows. You don't have to reanimate everything. You can also like change some of the settings only and keep the rest. So now it's bouncing. It's like super straightforward again. You can also use many different, animate many different attributes like rotation here. I'm going to give it some rotation animation on it. And it should bounce and rotate, hopefully. Is it? Yes. OK. So, and it's very, very fast. Our lighting solution, this is shader-based. So on the left, you see the final composite, which is the diffuse plus the lighting with the shaders and all the stuff. In the middle, you see the light being rendered on the render texture. And here you see, on the right, you see the lights themselves overlaid on the environment. So the good thing with this is that since we render the light to a texture in real time, we can render it at a very small resolution. We can also, as you can see, move the lights around. We can animate them. We can colorize them. We can change also, so obviously the intensity of the light using the sprite's attributes, like the color attribute of sprite. So I'm going to change the intensity. And additionally, we can change the image. So here I'm going to use a dappled light kind of lighting image. Yep, so I have my dappled light. And finally, because we have, I think it's the next video, but because we have these informations, right, for the light, we have the darks and the lights, we can also use them as a, how do you call that, sort of control in order to update your, in order to tweak your lights and your darks. So I should be able to show that later. I think here is going to be, OK. Yeah, sorry. First we have a mask as well. So we have a mask to control where the light should affect the diffuse and where it should not affect the diffuse. So if I want to keep my darks, really darks, here in the small rocks, as you can see, if I turn off the mask, you will see that it will normally the light. So you have no control over the playback on the video. It's a bit slow. OK, no mask. So I'm losing the local contrast, and with mask, I can preserve the local contrast, which is really, really important when you're doing like 2D lighting, because like basically your image, your diffuse doesn't give you the information of, OK, this is light, this is dark. You have no idea. The computer has no idea. The shader has no idea. So you can use a mask for that. Then how we use that in game is, for example, here we're going to spawn a light under each one of the tap, tap, tap of the player, right? And on the plants themselves. And additionally, because we have this, we have this dark and light texture, we can fine-tune the lights and we can fine-tune the shadows. So here I'm touching the lights, and there I'm going to be touching the shadows. So you can light up your shadows, darken your shadows, whatever you want to do. So it's a very nice additional control. So this is all shader-based. Then we have a fog solution. The fog solution is of course, is depth-based, like most of the fog systems. But this one has 4 different controls. I'm going to touch them now. We have near-high, near-low. We have far-high, far-low, which means we can really fine-tune the fog effect and how it's going to affect all the elements in screen space and in world space. So yeah, here I'm just touching the near-low. Then I should be touching the far-high. And then you can set up like really nice ambiances very quickly. It gives depth, but it also adds to your lighting overall, and you can harmonize all your assets really easily. That's really cool also because you just create your assets and you just harmonize all your colors and stuff using your fog. We also have some post-processing. It's not in the current version now on the App Store, but we're using Amplify colors and the Unity Bloom, and it works okay. Some UI tricks that we're using, stuff we discovered when working on this project. You can render anything onto a texture and then play with it. So what does it mean? It means here, okay, in our game we have booster packs that you can buy or receive as a reward. You open them and then you rip them open, sorry, and then you're going to get your cards out of that. So the thing is, each booster pack is actually a layered, it's like layered pictures, layered sprites, right? And if you animate layered stuff and start rotating, you will see some flickering happening, right? And you can't really fade them all at the same time. You can't really cut into them. You can't really apply a global shader to them as well sometimes. So how to do is to render this to a texture. You can just look at that in Unity. It's very simple, very straightforward. You have the documentation, and then you can just map that texture onto a 2D plane. You can rotate your plane. You can cut your plane. You can stretch and squash, whatever you want, and it will be very clean. You can also select a resolution for your texture, so you make sure that you're not rendering too many pixels as well. That's a good thing. If you use an expensive shader, here's the same thing. Like we have a title screen that fades in, right? If you fade multiple assets that are on top of each other, you're going to see like weird transparency issues happening. You have to fade them at once as one texture. And the problem here is they're animated, right? So what we do is we animate all of this on the side of the scene, which we're going to see here. We generate a texture, we map the texture on a 2D plane, and we just fade in the 2D plane. And these guys can also have their own specific shaders if you want, like whatever you want to do with this. Yeah, it's pretty much endless. I mean, render to texture is very, very powerful. It's very cheap in general. It just uses a lot of memory. So you got to be careful with the resolution of your texture. Next trick is something we found, again, while working on this project, which is you want to make a highlight, or you want to, for a tutorial, for example, or you want to use a nice screen fade effect kind of thing. You just need in that case, you just need two cameras. One camera with the dark part that you want to fade in and out, or that you want to cut a hole in. And you need your second camera, which is let's say the background camera, which for us is a journey map, right? And all you need is a shader, mask shader on your 3D object rendered on your top camera that will cut a hole in depth, right, through your camera. Again, this is a very simple shader. Any programmer probably would know about it, but it's just like, we never thought of using this before, and it's really, really useful. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about here is our main, main optimization in the game, which is basically rendering the background at a lower resolution. Whatever is moving doesn't always require high resolution, especially on, like, say, iPad 3, where you have like a very big, resolution, but the GPU is not so good, and you don't want to lower res everything in your game, so you just render to a lower res texture all the stuff that is moving, and all the rest, like the HUD, the characters, the mounts, all the cool stuff, you keep it at high res, so it's very very clean and very neat, but the rest is low res. Here I'm drastically reducing the texture size, right, so it gets really dirty, but. Yeah, basically that's, and then what happens is that you save fill rate because you render all the expensive shaders at a lower res, and then you gain maybe some more performance for post-processing, for example, which we're doing. Yeah, so that's what I went around. So quick recap for the tools we're using. So this is a 2D, 3D endless runner. Fur2D is for building the base terrain. 2D toolkit for all the decorative elements. Both of them save fill rate because of borders, transparent, inner part, opaque. It's very optimized. Fur2D doesn't save the meshes. I mean, at least the version that we use. It's a bit slow with the updates. It's a work in progress, but it's good. 2D toolkit is very mature. It's a very good tool. Saves lots of space. And, but the problem is it creates lots of vertices because it cuts your textures into small squares and tries to fit them onto an atlas. So you have to strike a balance, right, between the number of pieces, the number of vertices it will create, and how much you save in terms of texture space. Spine is very easy to use. It has a very nice Unity runtime, plenty of nice features and everything, but it's very slow when you get to work on heavy files, which is our case. It doesn't scale up for a complex project, which is our case. And UI is a bit clumsy sometimes, but it's good. It's a good tool. So if you have a small project and you need a powerful 2D tool to animate, I would suggest you give it a try to Spine. It's really good. And Unity 2D native tool is like super fast if you use legacy system. If, like for example, on the collectibles in the game, we were using the legacy, the mechanism system with the sprite animation from the new native sprite animation from Unity, but it's very slow. Actually, you can't really do that. The state machines are very slow. And then, well, whatever about the Atlas, but our lighting solution, just to recap, we had a big discussion with the lead engineer, mock-ups and stuff, so he could understand and he could propose even better solutions. He came up with the ambient lighting, fine-tuning for the shadows and the lights. It's all shader-based. It's multiply. It's texture control, so you make sure that the light goes exactly where you want and doesn't affect your shadows in your texture. It's real-time, animatable. You can colorize it, and that's it. And fog solution as well. Big discussion. You have 4 control points. You could have more if you want. You have height fog. You can also, make it more dense, less dense, whatever. I mean, it's like, and it's per vertex. It's vertex based, so it's really cheap as well. And so I guess I have some time left. Some additional tricks. We use a lot of particles in our game, in the UI, in-game as well, but specifically in the UI, you will take a sprite and you give them maybe a draw order. The problem with the draw order is that if you have sprites that by default have a draw order of 0, it's the default. If you have particles, draw order of 0, and then you have a sprite with a draw order of 1, the sprite will always draw in front of your particles. So you can't really give a draw order to your particles by default in Unity, but there is a script that exists that lets you do exactly that. It won't work in the editor. It will work only at runtime, but at least you can render your particles exactly where you want, which is really good. Same in game, same thing. And then we worked out a solution. I mean, not we, but our lead engineer Chris worked out a solution for prefabs nested inside of prefabs, which is big problem in Unity. I guess most of the people using Unity know that. And he's got a solution that works perfectly well. We can nest prefabs inside of prefabs inside of prefabs inside of prefab, and that's just fine. And it's also, additionally, it's an optimization for the pooling system that we're using in the game. And that's it. Questions, maybe? Sorry, that was a bit intense. No,
it was a good talk. I really appreciate your obvious dedication to making tools and obviously your passion for making user-friendly tools. You talk about that a lot in every case. There may be cons, but you're trying hard to make them user-friendly. So can you tell me about the results? Did this pay off for you guys when it came time to make the content, to make the game on time, on budget, for iteration, for gameplay quality, for these sorts of things?
Yeah. On the art side, yes, pretty much. Obviously we kind of made a mistake with Spine, I think, because it doesn't scale up that well for a more complex project, and we didn't know what animator we would be working with. So we went for the really easy tool to get into and that we would know would work. But now it's becoming a bit of a pain because of the complexity of the project. But all the rest, yes. Yeah, definitely. We're actually, so 2D Toolkit, Fur2D, Spine, these are tools that exist already that we bought from the asset store or as a standalone application. And the rest is stuff that was developed in-house. But yeah, it does speed up things very much. Sorry, does that answer your question? Okay, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
It does.
Thank you.
I would say the main mistake would be Spine.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, thanks for the talk. I just wanted to ask how many people involved in making this game and how long was it, the development? How long was the development for?
How long was that? Sorry?
How long was the development?
Oh, okay. Development is still in progress. We've been working on it for a year and a half. We are 10 people. We started 4 people for more than 6 months, and then we grew up slowly. So it's very hard to tell. But this is still in progress. We have, I think we have 4 environments now. I can't really tell you like how much time it took because we're still in beta and we're not done. So, but let's say we're a year and a half in production now. Yeah.
Any questions?
With a very slow start.
No? Is there
Okay,
anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just send me a mail if you have any question, or I'll be around and just ask me whatever you, I don't know. Really. Yeah, thank you very much for coming.